Good morning. We're ready for picking up in Magic Tree House, book number 16, Hour of the Olympics by Mary Pope Osborne. We are on chapter 7, Go, Go, Go. And as there are pictures, I will show you the pictures so you can see what's going on. Jack stared in horror at Annie. She must have borrowed a costume from the theater. He remembered Plato's words, "A girl will get in terrible trouble if she tries to attend the Olympic Games." Jack shook his head at her and pointed his finger as if to say, "Get out of here!" But Annie just waved at him again. Jack kept shaking his head at Annie. He even shook his fist. Annie turned back to watch the race. "It's not a joke!" Jack shouted. Plato turned and looked at him. "Of course not," said Plato. "We take the games very seriously." Jack felt his face grow hot and he glared at Annie's back. Just then the trumpet sounded. "The chariots are taking their places," said Plato. Jack saw the dozens of chariots lined up on the racetrack. Each chariot was pulled by 4 horses. Jack glanced back at Annie and she was looking up at him and pointing at the chariots. The trumpet sounded again. The horses took off and the crowd went wild. They were cheering and screaming, stamping their feet. Clouds of dust rose up as the chariots raced around the track. Annie turned back to watch the race, and she began jumping up and down. "Go, go, go!" she shouted. A few people began staring at the strange, small soldier with the high-pitched voice. Jack couldn't take it anymore. He had to get Annie away before it was too late. He shoved his notebook into his backpack. "I have to go," he shouted to Plato. The philosopher just looked surprised. Jack was afraid to tell him that Annie had broken the rules. "I had a great time, but I have to go home now," said Jack. "Thanks for everything." "Have a safe journey," said Plato. Jack waved and started down the steps, and as he climbed down, he saw Annie pull off her helmet. Her pigtails flew up and down as she was shouting, "Go, go, go!" Her soldier's cape fell off. Now lots of people were beginning to stare at her. Some shouted for the guards. Annie was too busy cheering to even notice anything. Jack moved as quickly as he could, but 2 guards got to Annie first. So here is the whole picture. I'll zoom in. There's Annie. Chapter 8, Save Annie. The guards tried to pull Annie away from the chariot race, and Annie looked surprised. Then she looked angry. "Let go of me!" she shouted. Jack rushed down the steps to the viewing stand. The guards were having a hard time pulling Annie through all the people. "Leave her alone!" shouted Jack. So he's being a good big brother, protecting his sister. His voice was lost in the noise of the race, and he pushed his way through the crowd. "Leave her alone!" he kept shouting. Finally, Jack reached Annie and the guards. He tried to grab her, but a guard blocked his way. "Let her go!" Jack yelled. "I promise to take her home." More guards arrived, and the crowd began to shout, "Arrest her! Arrest her!" The guards kept pulling Annie away. "Jack, the story!" cried Annie. Of course, he thought, the poet's story. This is definitely our darkest hour. He reached into his bag and pulled out the poet's scroll, and he held the story up to the sky. "Save Annie!" he shouted. But Jack's voice again was lost to the roar of the race as 4-horse chariots barreled through the dust. Jack looked around wildly for someone or something to help them. Then suddenly the crowd fell silent. All heads turned to watch as a huge white horse galloped out from the dust. The crowd murmured with excitement and wonder, and the white horse was the most beautiful animal Jack had ever seen. He was pulling an empty chariot, and he was galloping straight toward Jack. We'll stop right there. Tomorrow we'll pick up at chapter 9, Fly Away Home. Have a good day.